Upgrades.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back yet again for another episode of True Detective Season 4 Night Country. Episode 3 is insanity. We are still recouping. We just got done looking at the episode, so if we seem a little emotionally compromised, it's because we are. So I'm going to bring on both of my other co-hosts, and I'm talking about Vanessa and Jorge. What's going on, guys? Emotional damage.
Yes.
What?
There's so much. I don't even know where to.
Okay, so let's do this really quick because Jorge, this is your first time up here.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is we've been going back and forth since the very first 5 minutes of this to figure out if there's something fantastical or supernatural going on in this show. And at this current time, I think all of us can say is both. Some way, shape, or form, it looks like there's both.
Yeah.
And I think that from what I'm seeing, specifically in this episode, they unpacked it so much. From flashbacks to getting more into people's what they're dealing with emotionally and personally. So I think what we can kind of start off with is like the flashbacks and some of the things that we got revealed in this episode, because we got the video from Annie, like showing kind of what happened moments before everything transpired. We got flashback of Navarro and Danvers, like how they worked together and the case that they worked together. And then even deeper than that, like Navarro kind of reveals some things to different people about her past. So I think we can kind of go there with kind of talking about like how they unravel certain characters in their past. I'll let you guys kind of speak towards that because it's too much. It's too much as far as the episode go beat for beat for beat. So yeah.
Jorge, you do it.
Sorry. All right, Jorge.
I'll go. No, I think it's fascinating kind of seeing, because when you see a lot of these detective shows, you're looking at kind of like the buddy cop type of humor and all this. And it's interesting because you have these two characters who you can tell love each other and hate each other at the same time. It's almost like a sisterly, weird love where it's like you didn't pick that person, but that's who you're stuck with type of thing. When they do the flashback of them working together, at least for me, you see how they're one cohesive unit. Like when they were going through the house and everything, like very systematically, I found that to be very fascinating. And they leave you with such and I don't want to call it a cliffhanger, but you almost want to know who did what to scar this relationship.
Right.
And and obviously, like, they're holding that carrot, and it'll be interesting to see when it does happen, how that's going to affect, because I can see that in a couple episodes coming up to light and just changing the whole dynamics once again, of like their partnership for either good or bad. I can see it swinging, but no, I mean, I think they're seeing them grow and just seeing even like Navarro, how she's opening up to people that she normally wouldn't open up to. And it's interesting. She cares so much about solving this case that she's willing to put like her vulnerabilities out there and kind of like remove kind of like that cloak of like, I'm a tough, like girl here. And like, I run this, to like almost being that delicate flower of like, this is like when she was talking to the guy in the
in the fish
like
fish
ice fishing stuff. Like that's personal stuff that you wouldn't tell people. So it's very unique how she comes across so stern and so strong. And she is, but then you see her have these delicate moments which make you wonder if, due to all that trauma that she's kind of like had growing up, if that's what kind of made her into this hard, rugged, you know, like woman that she is today. But no, it's good. And I love her calling out like Danvers for like everything she's doing. So that's one of those things where I really like but yeah, no, that's kind of my take on those two and just kind of how they're evolving. And I really enjoyed this episode, just seeing that aspect of it, because you know we've the first two episodes you kind of see these two girls who hate each other, and you're kind of wondering like why,
what happened?
like
Right.
what happened? Finally see, it's just like, oh, like realistically, at least from my point of view, one of those women should be behind bars. And I think that's the compromise that's happening where they're like, So nah, it's dope. I enjoy how they kind of are peeling back kind of like this onion of their relationship and all the complexities in it.
Yeah. What about you, Vanessa?
Yeah. I agree. I think we've learned more about them both in this episode, obviously, than any other. I think we focus a lot on trying to figure out who Danvers is, and especially in the last episode. And this one, through the flashbacks, we've learned a little bit more about Navarro and like how she interacts with her own community and why she feels that way. And now we learn why she never got her Inupiaq name, and she was raised by an abusive father and a mother with mental illness. The parallels between her and the deputy's son, I never remember his name, but he has an abusive father, and his mother left when he was a kid. So I think the fact that they both have like this, like they keep going back to Danvers, as I feel like it's this like kind of fucked up mother figure, like that is interesting to me. And I also love the way they're building the community there, like the stark difference between how certain members of the community are treated versus others. You know, the bad water is mostly affecting the Inupiaq people, the native people there. The white people don't even know what's going on. And people that are more privileged are like, bad water, what do you mean? But it's interesting. So I appreciate the show taking them time to dive into the layers of that kind of like classism, racism. It's interesting to me, especially when one of the members of your community, an oppressed community, becomes a cop. There's an animosity that immediately fosters from the people who are like, you're one of us. Why are you a cop? So I think that's interesting. And I think I just find Navarro to be fascinating. Like Danvers is pretty cut straight. Like she honestly seems like a character who was supposed to be a man originally. And they were like, "No, we need both women." And then they just kind of rewrote her to be a woman. To be honest, so I'm like, damn, she's all over town. Like she's written like a dude. Like
she out there in these streets.
You're really out here, and I totally appreciate it because like I think we should see all kinds of women in all types of roles. Like she's not a good person. I don't like her, but I find her fascinating, and I don't need to like every character to get into it. But the flashbacks are fascinating. I love it. I think that the learning more about Navarro and her trauma gives me a better window into her as a person. And Danvers' trauma from her losing her son that we're still getting. We even got like a little not a flashback, vision. I don't know what's going on, to be honest.
Yeah. I definitely wanted to touch on that because when Navarro went out to the ice and visited him, like she slipped on some ice and all of a sudden like she's not in ice anymore. She's hearing this little boy that seems to be Danvers' son that died, and he's got the polar bear. And it was kind of like he was like, I think he said something about my mom, and it was just so
my mom or something.
Go find my mom. And so there. Remember, we talked about this last episode. They are getting drawn towards each other every single moment. Like the last episode, or even the first episode, when she saw the polar bear, it immediately had her go back to the facility. Danvers had woken up, from their bed with the polar bear like doll and went to the facility after going through the paperwork. And so the interesting thing about their relationship with unpacking these flashbacks to me is the fact that, yes, they were really close and they were a tight unit, but Navarro didn't reveal everything to her. She didn't know about what did Navarro do when she was emotionally compromised. Like, what do you do when you're tired? Like, she's like, I pray. And Danvers was like, really? Like, what are you talking about? Like, and I'm like, they've been working with each other for a while, like, but she didn't know. And then about her not knowing her name, she revealed that to him, but she never told Danvers. And so it's just a very interesting perspective to, like you said, it's a parallel to the son, because the son is not revealing everything to Danvers either, because she can't. Like, she's looking at she's looking at him like a son, and he doesn't have that same relationship with her to be express what's really going on. And so it's unraveling a lot of different pieces, but specifically with Navarro in this episode, it was insane, because then the very last moments we're seeing somebody legitimately, what seemingly looks like they're being possessed. I don't know if it's in her mind. I don't know if it's actually happening because nobody else was there. Yeah. But I do know, and you said this, we've all said this, that the water is definitely poison. These people are messed up. But there's also something going on that is unexplainable. And so I think it makes for a very good, like this might be one of the best episodes. As crazy as it was, all over it was, I am all the way invested now. I really want to see the next episode because I don't know what's going on. But then I'm so compromised from seeing it that I need a break. Like I really need a break from what I just saw. But yeah, let's unpack some of the other things in the episode, because there were a lot of things that they kind of tracked now. So now that Navarro and Danvers are working together, it looks like the son is a little bit jaded and kind of jealous. And it looks like there's definitely a competition there. Like, okay, I'm Jason Todd, but I'm Dick Grayson kind of thing. And that's kind of I'm kind of seeing. I don't think it's out in this situation, but that's what I'm kind of getting. But do you guys want to kind of unpack some of that with the father and the son in this episode that you kind of guys... Because I mean, honestly, with the son, he's also trying to help, raise his kid and be a father and trying to help protect. But what did you guys think?
Is he?
I think he's trying his best. I just don't think he has the capacity. I don't think he got the capacity.
Putting work so far up on that pedestal, like that's, and even his wife was telling him, like, she calls you at any time and you're gonna go.
He's on job.
And he didn't deny it.
Yeah, and when he came home like late that night, like near the end of the episode, and they're having their like mid conversation and the phone rings and he's just like, let me go grab my phone.
Yeah.
So no, I think his dynamic is going to be interesting because Danvers basically relied on him on being kind of the point person per se, like do this, do that. And now she has like her old buddy back, Navarro. So it's almost like he's going to be that third wheel where he wants to be a part of the team, but I don't think he understands where to insert himself and how to insert himself in a proper way. But I think that comes also from, like, obviously his dad just beats the crap out of him, like on a normal. And I think that has a big thing. And it was interesting when the dad came back from, kind of like that mass hunting trip with like little ice skates. And because of the relationship that the dad has had with him, I legit thought he was gonna like hit him with the ice skates. Like what he was walking with it. I was just like, he about to like slash his face. I was like, all right, cool. But it was interesting because you see this softer version of his dad where he's like, hey, like, I know you have a son, he's not there yet, but you were a pretty good skater by this point in time. So you kind of see this sweetness coming from his dad, and it's almost like he's torn between being this like disciplinary, like / abusive father, but yet caring for him and trying to like set him up. So it's a weird dynamic that they have, like basically both sides of it have, because realistically, now thinking about it out loud, his relationship with Danvers and now Navarro is almost exactly probably like his dad, where he's just trying to live up to his dad, trying to be like, hey, I'm following in your footsteps as a cop, but he's never good enough, type of thing. I think will cause fun-filled daddy issues. I'm going to predict episode 5.
Yeah. What about you, Vanessa? I got a theory about the skates, but go ahead. I'll let you go.
I'm going to play off your point about Jason and which is Jason and Dick. I don't think it's a Jason and Dick relationship. I think it's more of a Jason and Tim relationship. Jason and Tim, Jason beat the shit out of Tim when he found out that Tim was a New Drake. This is when he came back as Red Hood. So their relationship was like very antagonistic, similar to Tim and Damien. The bad boys and the older ones, the younger ones always had issues, right? I think this is more similar to a Jason's Tim situation where they're at odds. They're hiding secrets. They're at odds. One thinks they're better than the other. One's actually proving that they're kind of know what they're talking about. And he's like, God damn it. And like one's all about computers and like, I know these things. I'm techie. I'm young. And the other one's like, anyway, I know the community. I know these people. I know this. Like, it's very that like street smarts, very street smarts versus tech. Like I think that's interesting because she's like, I can't. Well, why can I hack this? Well, you're under 30. You can do it. You know, you can do it. Which reminds me of when I was fresh out of college and everyone just put me on social media because they were like, "You're 21. You could do social media. You don't know what this is." And I'm like, I was like, fine, I guess. So I just ended up running a bunch of companies' social media because of that. But so I felt his pain there. But no, I think that their relationship. Well, I think they're gonna bond. In my prediction, I think they're gonna bond over the fact that they have abusive fathers. Because it's going to come out, you know, if they don't already know. I think Navarro's focused on one thing right now, has no regard for the son who I never remember his name. Because what is his name?
Forgettable.
What is his name? But like, can we talk about how his face like kept getting more and more like he's not getting enough sleep. So he just looks more and more haunted throughout the entire episode. Like even his cousin was like, bro, are you all right? Yeah, his cousin even noticed it. Like, are you all right? Like, and I want to shout out to the guy who played the vet / cousin because he was, he ate his little 3 minutes up. He was just like, haunted.
He was ready for it.
I don't know. They look terrified. I was like, oh, he's eating it. He's got his one moment, you know. But no, I think they both, Navarro and the son, both see Danvers as a sort of mom figure. And they both have terrible issues with their moms. One is basically non-existent. So I could see them trying to improve that or trying to work out their own shit through her. And she's got her own shit, lost a kid, has one running wild. So the parallels, I can see that too. A younger son that she lost and oh my God, what if that's foreshadowing? Anyway, and an older daughter, she doesn't know well. You even said it, you know, she doesn't know. They worked together for however long and she didn't know anything about her. To that point though, Navarro doesn't reveal anything. She's been banging that one dude for how long? And she just now told him a little bit. Like he had to blackmail her to get that little bit of info out of her. And so I think that's more of a Navarro thing than a Danvers thing because Danvers seems to just lay her business out. Everybody knows who she's banging, but no one knows anything about Navarro. And I think that's by choice, and I think that's interesting. I feel like the son is the same way.
Yeah, I think it's all about control and perception. Like they're trying to control the narrative so that they feel safe. Like anybody that's going through like abuse and trauma, like you try to keep into a lane so you can be able to have moments to be able to breathe. And in my personal opinion, I think that the dad, I don't think he was trying to be sweet. I think he was trying to make sure he maintained control with his son. He did it like the episode before. It's like, yeah, remember, like you're this too. You're a prior too. Like you've got family here. And then he goes and gives him some skates out there. I think he was like, I don't want you to get too close to Danvers because I got home. I think that was all a control play. I think he went there with that approach. And I think that was worse than him taking the skates and throwing it at him. I think that he legit was like trying to egg him to him, but I don't think the son was biting. I think that he understood what the dad was trying to do because even them were like, why did you hold this information? I think that's a good segue. The segue of the fact that the dad kept it a secret, like the report that she did call it in and what happened. And we know, like he's always seemed really creepy. Like he seems like he's got something to be tied, and he's got something that is underneath his skin. And I don't know what it is, but the fact is now that we actually do have a source of evidence from that phone, which is the video. And I'm curious to you guys because now we're going into the fantastical supernatural side of this. One, what is going on?
That's my favorite.
What the heck is actually happening? Because one, your boy was still alive, and I felt so bad for him. I was kind of like, I don't know if I can see this scene. Like he looked like Anakin Skywalker up there. Like his limbs were gone. Like he's frostbitten. His eyes he was blind. he was just in throbbing pain. And he was doing his best to say what's going on. Like, she's there, she's in the water. And I'm like, they're talking about Annie. They got to be talking about Annie. And it's kind of like, the weird thing to me is that the water started to go bad the day that everything went down at the facility. Because it was like, I think it was like a 3-day time frame. And it was like 3 days later, it's like, oh, all of a sudden the water is bad. Like, and so if it's not her body in the water that's contaminated, it's more so like a supernatural effect is happening. And I'm just curious y'all's perspective, because he had an episode and he had this moment where he kind of seemed like he was possessed and talked to Navarro outright, like what's going on with what her mom dealt with. And again, we saw that episode before. And I was like, we talked about it. I was like, is her mom like possibly possessed right now? Like, it seemed like something was going on, and it looked like it wasn't just a mental episode. It was something else. And it's weird because even with the sister, they don't exclusively say what the sister is hearing and what she's feeling. They've kept that completely under wraps. Every single time, like, she's nurtured her sister the perfect way, but we don't know what she's saying. The only thing we got close was that I think the guy that reported to her said, like, hey, all of a sudden, like, she was making a whole lot of weird noise and then she started praying. Yeah. And so I was like, this is really weird. So what's y'all's take on what's going on from a supernatural fantastic side?
I found it interesting that she started praying. And that was one of the things that Navarro was saying in terms of, you know, like what she does when she's, you know, trying to find peace and everything. And I wonder if Navarro's also hearing some of these voices, but just keeping it more cool. The possessed dude, like, that was just trippy, and it was great seeing like the film. The way they're filming this is beautiful. Like, I don't know if you guys have talked about that in the first 2 episodes, but it's pitch black.
Yeah,
I would say 90% of the time, and you can still see crystal clear, which is like, it's just beautifully shot, like plain and simple. But I loved how you see Navarro kind of looking to see what was happening in the hospital, and you just see this figure kind of just getting up. The part that threw me off was how his voice changed when he was talking to her, saying like, what did he say? Like, your mother's looking for you, or come, like, follow your, something like that. But I
she's
found
looking
that,
for you.
yeah, just super creepy in the sense.
I don't know. I checked out. I walked away.
Yeah.
And I think and maybe for us, and I'm just gonna speak for me here, this whole episode was a little bit more creepy because I think, Vanessa, it was you at the start of the episode, like, you were like, oh, we're watching this at the same exact time, like, date wise, of the show.
We've been doing it since the beginning.
Yeah, I have not put those two connections together, and once you said that, I was just like, I'm done here. I'm like,
it made it creepier.
Like this.
And now it's the 23rd. Right now, it's the 23rd. That's the crazier thing.
For y'all. So, and it's recording 23 minutes.
No, this was wild. But how about you, Vanessa? Like, what did you think about some of this stuff?
I love it. This is exactly the kind of shit I love. I think it could be the first season where they actually lean all the way into the supernatural aspect. Like, every other season, they've either hinted at it, like especially season 1, but this season might be the one where they actually go into it. And considering the base, a lot of it is the Inupiat people and their culture, and the things that they believe are different from, you know, mainstream or whatever everyone else in Ennis believes. We could have a more ambiguous, like, oh, maybe it was a dead body contaminating water, or maybe it was this. Because considering what we saw at the very end of the episode when we heard, I don't think it's Annie haunting anyone anymore. Like, I don't know who this monster is, but it sounds like a monster. To me, it sounds like a monster. They're getting haunted. What happened to the hunters? What happened? Did they get possessed? Like, it seems like whatever happened to the hunters that we saw at the hospital happened to the people on the ice earlier. They just found them earlier. I don't know what's going on, but I'm fully on board of the supernatural sci-fi. Something deeper and older than Ennis is haunting Ennis. Maybe it's because of the amount of Inupiat bodies that are piling up. that is their land. They kept saying one of the chants at the protest, we were here first, or we were here before. And they kept saying that over and over again. And I wonder if they've invoked something about their anger, invoked something older than the country. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Oh, Sam, we can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry.
Sam.
Everything's breaking right now because we're talking about this
It's
creepy
cursed.
stuff. I just don't know because the timing was just so specific. Like they went and visited him in the hospital. He was already all jacked up. And, Navarro was compromised just from jump when she heard like, oh wow, this is interesting. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't line up. And then when the hunters came up, I was like, what is going on? They just seemed like they were going rabid.
Yeah.
And so it just, the timing of it doesn't make any sense because we just saw them go to the hunters' place, right? And yes, they were pissed. So it's not the same hunters that they went out to initially.
Those hunters that went out on the ice those were like guys, those were different dudes that were hired by the deputy. Where they went to the encampment was like a encampment somewhere far away. Like this is where that guy hid because no one found him. No one knew who he was. Right. It was like a separate village. Those are two separate hunters. I think they were like, yeah, those are two separate ones.
Okay. But it was just still weird how they all of a sudden started losing it. And then Navarro was cornered. And then they got the video. Like it was just a beat for beat for beat. But I guess, that's a good segue though. What about the guy that was in hiding? Like, what does he really know? Because he kind of asked, he's like, what about this person? Are they still alive? And we found out, of course, he knew nothing because he didn't know they were dead. So, of course, he didn't do it. But it seemed like all of them were keeping something under wraps. So where do you guys think that their involvement is? Because it goes back to, we saw the hunter in the very beginning. Like he was, I guess, getting ready to shoot one of the reindeer or antelope. I'm not sure what they were. And they all of a sudden just decided to go crazy and just kill themselves. And he looked like this is off. And then he kind of walked away. And then we see him again. And I'm like, what do these hunters know that they're hiding? Is it tied to the water? Is it tied to the people? What do you guys think about that? That was the only thing I was going to say.
I think they are probably doing something to sabotage the mines. They just kind of came out of nowhere. And I don't think they exist just to tell us about him because we've seen this dude twice. We don't know his name. And then it's just this Oliver guy who didn't know he apparently was the equipment engineer who left before Annie died. And so he's just been like in this place for a while and they don't know anything. So I'm like, either they were just there to reveal his location or they're there for some other reason. And the only other thing I can think of is they're going to sabotage the mines. Blow up the mines, do something. I don't know. That's my theory.
See, and I'm thinking a little bit more supernatural.
Yes.
Here we go.
If you noticed, when they were in that little like I don't want to call it camp, but it was when her daughter came and all those people were like chanting like we were here first and all that.
Yeah.
Did you guys keep seeing the girl that had the eye patch?
Yeah. She popped up several times.
All right, so just hear me out here for a second. I'm
about to go to this polar bear. Vanessa said something like that last time. Go ahead.
Yes. The polar bear had that jacked up eye. So what if these people I'm thinking like old, like you almost think of like old like Native American tribes that have all these kind of like stories and all this. What if they're converting into some of these monsters or some of these things and fighting off whatever this bad spirit is? The one thing that I found interesting is I think during that time they kept saying that I don't know if they said another boy died, as in like it's multiple like boy children, or if it's both just kids in general, because obviously everyone says like we've unlocked her or like she's alive now and all this, and it's like, well, is she and this is going also way deep out there. Like, is she feeding off these children? Like, why are the kids the ones that are getting targeted, like the newborns especially and all that? So that's kind of my like where I'm heading, which is like way out there. So but yeah.
And I was to say there was a reason why they basically showed two or referenced two babies and two births to this episode. The beginning was the flashback where Annie was still alive and they had a successful baby birth, but it was like foreshadowing the baby didn't come out breathing. And then like fast forward to like present day where there was a stillborn, and they said that they said it was like another one. So obviously the water is killing their babies, but this clearly the timeline is being set in stone and was prior to what was going on in Soleil or like and like Annie's disappearance and death. But there's a 6-year gap, so obviously there wasn't bad water that whole 6 years. So
but they didn't uncover her until recently, if you think about it, with because they said even with the scientists that were in that bunker, like one of them started going a little like haywire.
Yeah, that's true.
So it could be that like he unlocked whatever beast or entity this is, and that's when all this like shenanigans really started happening.
Yeah, and I think that there are definitely details there. When they started kind of unpacking his relationship with Annie and how like he was really weird, but he wasn't volatile up until he saw her tattoo, and then he became fixated on it. But then they added something in this episode that we didn't know from the last one, is that I forget who said it. I think it was the girl that Navarro knew. Was that where did she get this symbol from? And they said that she kept on dreaming about it.
Yep.
And she didn't stop dreaming about it until she tattooed it on her body. And that is freaking weird, dude. Something is off about that, but those two specific details, I still don't understand his profile of why he was so fixated on it. But this seems more fantastical. It's connected to something a little bit deeper. It's more like a heritage thing. Other thing is like Danvers' son technically died too, and we don't know how far this kind of goes. But shout out to Jodie Foster. That scene when I think that was the first time we saw Danvers really emotionally compromised, when she went to the funeral or that wake, and she went in there, and you could tell she was just breaking, and she just couldn't handle it. And she went and walked out, and then she was trying to put some water in her face. She realized, this water's all jacked up.
Water's bad.
It was like there's nothing she could do to kind of escape how she was feeling. But I don't know. There's so many details in this. It's such a great episode. We could be kind of dissecting this for days, but is there anything else you guys think we should kind of unpack on this one?
I think we need to remember the science part of it, what they were there for, like trying to unlock genetic code and stuff. So I do think that that's going to tie into whatever they were doing in the ice. And real world stuff, I know they're talking about like climate change and ice melting and stuff, unlocking and unleashing viruses that were been trapped in the ice for years. And that's one of the speculations as to where COVID came from, because it's a concern that's going to increase because of the ice melting. So I'm wondering if they dug too deep or something and unleashed something from the ice that was like has been in the ice since the ice age. You know what I mean? So that's another thing I thought about, because they're also scientists and there has to be a science aspect of it. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with it.
Nah, I think that's a really good theory, because that was the thing that we thought initially, was that it's a virus. Like it's spreading. And
zombie virus.
I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I don't know, man. Like the way that dude woke up, either one, he was possessed, or two, that water got him like he as a zombie. But yeah, some of this stuff just is not explainable, honestly. And what do you guys think was the thing that scared these men to death? Now that we've confirmed, based on the veterinarian, that they didn't die while in the water, they died before.
Yeah.
Like their heart, they went into cardiac arrest from basically terror or fear. What do you guys think that could have been?
well, supernatural explanation.
Right, I was about to say, all right, let's do different explanations. Let's do the supernatural explanation. Let's do the scientific
and like a real word. Yeah. I think supernatural, they saw like a monster scare them, something, or a spirit, something in the supernatural freaked them out and scared them to death. Like I remember saying, it was like, I read Harry Potter, I was like petrified. When people are petrified, they're scared to literal death. Like their face looks terrified. Scientific thing, they probably were hallucinating. They saw something and they just had a heart attack. Like that is actual scientific. Like you can, if someone's hallucinating, having actual real visions or hallucinations that are so, or delusions that are so intense, it can actually affect their heart and kill them. They can go into cardiac arrest. So that was one thing I thought they might have been hallucinations or a collective mass hallucination, which is also scientific, historical things that have happened.
Wait, collective
mass hysteria.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
It's called something else. It's like there's a French, it's called it's actually this second Joker movie's title is based on that. It's called a mass it's based off of actual it's folie do or whatever that French term is. It's a mass hysteric event. Like people think that they are all itching for some reason, but when they investigated, there was nothing. There was like hundreds of people. It's a collective mass hysteria. I read about it a little bit. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So that's, I think, supposed to be the theme of the second Joker movie, as an aside. But that's my scientific theory.
Okay. Jorge, you got anything else? We'll round out this episode with the.
Nah, I mean, it could have been the chupacabra. Just throwing it out there. Wow, shout out.
Oh, matter of fact, she tried to say that.
Yeah,
Chupa
No,
Jay's not beating the racist allegations.
I know.
It's not at all. It's
yeah, I find it fascinating. And when the vet said that, where it was like they didn't die out there basically because of the cold, it was because they were petrified. It makes you wonder, like, there's a whole bunch of things that kind of lead up before that. And I think where you're heading, Vanessa, with the hallucinations may be more correct, because why else would they be all naked running out there, and all that? Like, when you're scared, you don't take off your clothes, like,
right.
when you're scared. You're kind of just frozen in place. So the thing that's interesting though, and where the hallucinations could chime in a little bit more, because one of the guys, didn't they say that he basically like gouged his eyes out? But when you kind of start looking at it from that point of view, it's like, if they're all hallucinating this like big bad monster or something coming towards them or attacking them, it may be to the point where, like, the one guy, he, in his mind, like, when you're all strung out, like, maybe ripping out my eyes, like, it can't get to me anymore. It's very
some kind of
very tricky.
Yeah. No, that's right on point, I think. But yeah, we'll stop from here. So what do you guys final thoughts on this episode and final rating?
What have you guys been rating? A through F or
A to
one?
F. A to F.
Okay. I guess for me, I've really, like, the second episode really like strung me and got me good. This episode, I think, just opened up so many more questions, and it gave me so much more about the characters. Like, I'd give this an A, just because it literally, like, I was invested in episode 2, and now I'm like, I need to know. and I think that's kind of like the catch, and we're at that sweet point where you're like halfway through it, and I just want more and more of it. So yeah, for me, this is a solid A for me.
Yeah, I got to agree. This is the best episode by far. It was. I think there was a lot happening. It got to a point where it was like almost too much, and then the episode ended. So it was like perfect note to end the episode on. So I think I agree. I give it an A2. I am fully invested now. I get the characters. I know people. I'm starting to learn people's names. So I'm like, by the time I really get into it, it's gonna be over, because it's only 6 episodes. This is wild to me. But no, I think this is a really good episode.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of you guys. I think that this was A to A plus. It was terrifying. It was emotional. But I think the biggest thing was that the story progression. They did so much in this without doing too much. Because sometimes, you add so much, it just kind of becomes convoluted. But I think in this one, like they progressed it enough that I was like, man, these first 3 episodes was like feeling like a first half of a season without being like 10 episodes. So I think they did a really good job in this one establishing where the progression of the story is going to go. But I think that every single character got progressed in this episode like they've never done in the other two. So this is an A plus for me. I really enjoyed this episode. But yeah, we're gonna go, and we've got a another review we got to do. But yeah, before we leave, I'm gonna let Vanessa plug her stuff.
I'm really good at this. You can find me at Vanessa Shark on everything. I have a website, vanessashark.com. I also write comic book reviews and interview writers and stuff, artists and stuff on multiverseofcolor.com. That's it. Please take the camera off me. Thank you.
Done. It is done. You are off the camera. But no, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next time for episode 4, where it's probably gonna get crazier and weirder, and I'm probably gonna walk away yet again. Jorge, thank you for being in the fray this time, and he'll be back next time as well, guys. Thanks for watching, people. Bye. Peace.
Falling out the top of the I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing else. Upgrades.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Vanessa Shark. I'm here with my boys, Sam and Jorge, to review the True Detective Season 4. I'm super excited to talk about it. It's been kind of a ride. So yeah, I want to talk about it with you guys. What was your first thoughts about it? Overall, 1 through 3, what do we think? Jorge?
I guess real quickly, amazing. I think acting, everything is top notch. I'm loving it. I'm truly loving this season. It definitely gets me hooked into this show. Because as everyone just found out, literally minutes before we started recording this, I have never seen this show in my life, any of the previous seasons. So coming in it completely like brand new, this after seeing this season, it does make me want to go back and see like how this whole thing came about. So from that point of view, I think this is doing a wonderful job. But so far, even as a standalone, I'm loving it.
Dan, what about you? What do you think? I know we were tragically affected by Jorge's reveal earlier.
Oh yeah, no, I can't believe it. That's a travesty. How can you not see the first season of that excellence? But no, this was amazing. I actually really love True Detective, believe it or not. First season was amazing. I did like aspects of the second season, specifically the acting. I love Mahershala's third season, what he did, but this is so different. It has really interesting supernatural elements to it, but at the same exact time, the story and the richness of characters is still there. Like the acting is great, but the mystery, I think, is the biggest thing. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's the next turn. And I think it's kept me engaged. Like I haven't been this excited about a True Detective season since the first season. And I think a big part of that is also is Callie and Jodie Foster's like amazing chemistry and how they're dissecting these two specific characters in Danvers and Navarro and taking us on this crazy journey that we're only suspecting what it's going to be versus like what it really is. And so I'm loving it right now, honestly.
I have to agree. True Detective season 1 is probably one of the best seasons of television. I think this is during the golden era, the golden age of TV, when like Mad Men and Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones were all on at the same time, like around the same era. Like this was peak, you know. So obviously you don't have to watch all the seasons to watch this season. They're all standalones, which is great. But I think this season is leaning more into the spooky, is this supernatural, is this not, like aspect that made the first season so good. And the first season was also so good because of the strong cast members. We have not just Jodie Foster and obviously newcomer Callie Reyes, who was apparently a professional boxer. You could tell in her shoulders. We also have a stacked cast, like Fiona Shaw. Hello, Christopher Eccleston. We have just an insane. We have a lot. Yes, we have so many good actors. John Hawkes. This just a really good cast. Plus, a really diverse cast too. We're focusing on the Inupiaq people in northern Alaska. This is a town called Ennis. So let's talk about the characters a little bit and who we've met so far. What do you guys think about like just the way the characters are interacting and especially the dynamic of the town? Sam,
Yeah,
go first.
Oh, there you go.
Jorge. No, Jorge, go first. You go first.
Take the reign. No, I think that I love when shows just don't tell you everything immediately and they slowly peel off to get you really engaged. This is one of those shows where like you watch episode 1 and you're just like, oh cool, like let's see what happens, where this goes. Once you watch episode 2, it is a scary downhill slope that you're just gonna go to episode 3, 4, like you're just gonna run right through them. It's definitely, I love the dynamic that they're setting up of kind of you're seeing all these characters and how they interact, but you're seeing their backstory from like a different time when things were different, and I find it great. Like just and I do have to echo what both of you guys said. Like both Jodie Foster and Khalid, like they are an amazing duo right now that literally like I could watch multiple seasons of just them two nonstop. I love their witty banter that they have kind of back and forth, and it's for me it's not something that I've seen before, which is what I like, because usually you have like good cop bad cop or like the funny guy, and this one it's literally like this brotherly sisterly, like they just crap on each other nonstop, and it's hilarious because it comes from like a place of love, but at the same time it's like they're just calling each other out on all their crap, which I love, and I love how they've been molding those relationships, and I love how they make you care about like and I'm gonna butcher their, it's what is it, the
Inupiaq. It's
Inupiaq.
spelled Inupiat.
There you go.
That helps.
It does not, but Inupiaq. So I love how they've been integrating their story, and you're kind of seeing more and more from it. But as in any, like I'll say desolate town like this, you have your problems, and you have like and I don't know if racism is the right word, but you have like your prejudice. Jeez, I
Prejudices. Yes,
There
you
you
got it.
For sure.
You got it.
But the way that they show that and the way that they slowly unfold all that, like it's very beautifully done, because it's not just like smack thrown in your face. It's like very clever doing that. But yeah, those are my thoughts. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about it is the town. There's so many different layers to what the town is doing, what they know, because I mean it is like a small community, but you can tell that the town is housed with secrets. And I'll use like Fiona's character Rose, for instance. Like Rose on surface, the first time you see her, she's like disemboweling an animal just to getting ready to cook it. Then you find out all these different layers with her and what she knows about the people there, and what she knows on a different level emotionally. And that's every single character down to I'm gonna pick on Peter. Peter is a character that is working with Danvers and Navarro on this investigation, and he's got like damage to himself emotionally, but he's got something to prove, and he's trying to find affirmation from Danvers as a peer, but then at the same time trying to make sure his dad is proud. Like there's different levels and dynamics that they're doing so well with, but at the same time, you also know that it is a murder mystery. So there are things about this that people are lying, and you're trying to uncover and unpack who's really innocent. And the truth about it, which most true detectives, nobody is innocent. And as good as Navarro and Danvers are as detectives, that doesn't mean that they're great people. And I think the interesting thing about like Callie's character and Navarro is I really still don't know what kind of character she is. I think that mystery is very fascinating to me. Whereas like Danvers is the complete opposite. Like she's not good. she's not good people, but she does care, and she does have emotions that are masked with her prejudices and her angers. And Jody is a freaking beast, and just them like connecting with this town or disconnecting from the town makes it so much more thrilling. So I love the characters and how they progress through this.
For sure. I think that to keep it concise, one of the biggest things that True Detective has consistently had in each season is flashbacks and connecting the detective's past with their present. Not without revealing a lot, there are things in this show. It's not as mysterious. They're pretty straightforward, but there's also other versions of the flashbacks, I guess I could say, that lean into make this feel way more supernatural and fantastical than any of our previous seasons. So if we want to touch on that a little bit before we kind of wrap up, Jorge, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, and it's hard to talk without kind of like spoiling some of this, but I think the way that and I think you kind of envelop it the best, the way that they talk about this in a sense where the more you start kind of seeing parts of the show, it's opening up into like all these different genres that you're trying to figure out. Well, wait a minute. I'm like, is this really just like a detective show? Is this like there's different elements that really make you scratch your head, and you're just like, whoa, like the way that they're just sprinkling it in. And I think the thing that I love most about it is you're literally not guessing, but you're like at the edge of your seat trying to figure out what's happening next. Like what's gonna happen here, or what may happen here. So yeah, so I mean that's kind of how I've been viewing that part of it.
Yeah. Stan?
The best I can say without spoiling anything is that there have been times I was watching these episodes and I had to walk away or be like this or like what am I watching? And it's not just street violence. Like this is some other stuff that's freaking me out from genres of shows and films that I did not expect. And I'm all the way there for it. Like I'm actually enthralled at the fact that I don't know. Like I think that all of us can collectively say after watching this that we have our suspicions of who did it or who's connected or who might be involved, but none of us can clearly say what is actually happening. And anytime you can write something like that, you've won me. I mean, anybody that reads books, that's what you want. Anybody that wants to invest in a series, that's what you want. You want to go about the unknown. And I think that the unknown is what this season is all about. And I think that this is a great direction to take a series like this in. But yeah, I'm scared. I ain't gonna lie.
Yes, I shout out to Issa Lopez. HBO might have another Issa hit on their hand because this is a really good season. Before we go, what do you want listeners, viewers to watch out for? Like, what are you? Because for me, I think you gotta. I think people who aren't really watching the show to expect like horror aspects, you got to expect there's some spooky horror, especially with the way it's filmed, certain references. You're going to get freaked out. So just fair warning on that. But what do you guys, just to like, just what do you want the viewers to watch out for? And like your last thoughts on the season overall, Jorge?
That's a good one. I would say, be ready to go in for like a fun roller coaster ride. Like when you're in a roller coaster, like you know that thing's gonna go flipping and flopping, and you're gonna be okay. But it is, be prepared to see amazing acting. They're not, like spoon feeding you what's happening or who did what, which makes this so much more fun. I think overall, yeah, it definitely, when you got like murder mysteries, like those are fun, but this is like turning it up a notch or two, where you're like, like what is happening here? So no, I think it's, be prepared to just have fun and enjoy the ride.
What about you, Sam?
I'm gonna say pay attention to all the little details. It's the details that are gonna mess you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the little things. It's the little things, Jimmy. I'm gonna say also watch out for freaking polar bears, because as cute as this little guy is right here, I am now terrified of polar bears.
Oh boy.
I can't tell you why or how. But no, I mean, I'm using him as an example of like, there's going to be things fundamentally you need to just pay attention to. And that's the beauty of the process of where this is going. You're going to see small little details, and you're going to see things that are verbally stated that aren't just exposition to waste. I think that every small little thing that they're giving you is all important. The last thing that I've watched that did that was like Attack on Titan. That's one of the best anime series I've seen ever. So the fact that they're doing so much in such a short amount of time with a series like this, I commend them for it. This right there for me is like one of the better series I've seen. This is really good. It's really good.
I gotta agree. Overall, it's fun. It's scary, and I think at the end of every episode, I'm like, I figured it out, and then the new one starts. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, which is good because I am like a problem solver, and I'll try and figure things out really quick. So the fact that the show is like keeping me on my toes is like really good thing, which isn't an easy thing to do. So I'm excited. Anyway, we're done. Yeah, watch everything. I don't know. Woo! Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. You can follow me at Vanessa Shark on everything. I have a website, vanessashark.com. Thanks, Sam.
I'm gonna just swift my hair and I'm gonna cut later, guys.